Hello everyone! Welcome to Speak English with Teacher Kevin. Today we are going to learn how to introduce ourselves. As an English learner, one of the first things that you must do is learn how to introduce yourself in English. But the question is, how can you properly introduce yourself in English? What information should you give and what is the right order? Well, if you have ever asked yourself this question, this lesson is definitely for you. For example, let's start with Mikey. Mikey, where are you? Hey, Mikey!
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Mikey, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Mikey and I am from Canada. I am a very smart and extrovert person. My hobby is playing football. I love watching football game, so I usually play football every afternoon after school. My dream is have meeting to best football player, for example Lionel Messi and Ronaldo. I plan to do this over the next 5 years. I have always loved traveling and meeting new people and historical places and learning about new cultures.
Thank you, Mikey.
My pleasure.
Okay, so I will teach the best method for introducing yourself in English. Let's look at this method together. Introducing yourself in English can be viewed as a circle made up of 3 parts. Part 1 is life. This is where you talk about who you are and where you are from. Part 2 is hobby. This is where you talk about your hobby and the reason why you choose it. And part 3 is dream. This is where you describe your dreams about the future. Now we understand what each part basically is, but let's go into more detail so that we can understand exactly how to properly introduce ourselves. To do this, we must break down each individual part. Let's start with part 1. Part 1 is life. For this part, we will select 3 of the 5 W's: who, where, and what. Now, we will write down a short piece of information for each of these W's. For who, we can say name. For where, we can say hometown or native country. And for what, we can say character and personality. So let's look at an example for part 1. For who is Peter, for where is Spain, and for what is diligent and outgoing person. This is how part 1 would sound. Peter and I'm from Spain. I am a very diligent and outgoing person. This is a very clear and concise way of introducing yourself for part 1. Next, let's move on to part 2. Part 2 is hobby. We will also select 3 of the 5 W's: what, why, and when. Now we will write down a short piece of information for each of these W's. For what, we can say hobby. For why, we can say the main reason for choosing that hobby. And for when, we can say when you usually do that hobby. So let's look at an example for part 2. For what is playing the piano. For why is love classical music, and for when is every evening after work. This is how part 2 would sound. My hobby is playing the piano. I love classical music, so I usually play the piano every evening after work. This is also a very clear and concise way of introducing yourself for part 2. Finally, let's look at part 3. Part 3 is dream.
For this part, we will once again select 3 of the 5 W's: what, when, and why. Now, we will write down a short piece of information for each of these W's. For what, we can say what our dream is. For when, we can say when we want to reach this or that dream. And for why, we can say why we choose that dream. So now let's look at an example for part 3. For what is travel all around the world. For when is over the next 10 years. And for why is I have always loved meeting new people and learning about new cultures. This is how part 3 would sound. Is to travel all around the world. I plan to do this over the next 10 years. I have usually loved meeting new people and learning about new cultures. This is also a very clear and concise way to introducing yourself for part 3. Okay, and now that we have looked at each part in detail, let's see what the entire English introduction sounds like with part 1, part 2, and part 3 all together. Hello, my name is Peter and I'm from Spain. I am a very diligent and outgoing person. My hobby is playing the piano. I love classical music, so I usually play the piano every evening after work. My dream is to travel all around the world. I plan to do this over the next 10 years. I have always loved meeting new people and learning about new cultures. Excellent, very good. You can do that.
Now, this is a good English introduction. All right, amazing. Today, you'll learn the 18th secret to speaking English, how to introduce yourself in English. We looked at the 3 parts of an English introduction. Part 1 is life, part 2 is hobby, and part 3 is dream. Using this secret, you will be able to introduce yourself. Now, try to introduce yourself in English and write it on a paper or create a video from yourself. Then send it to the class group. You can do it. You can speak English. Hope to enjoy the class. Stay safe and keep well. Bye-bye.